Are we, what are we doing?
Let's just start it.
Okay.
You want me to do introduction?
I mean, you're kind of the guy now.
Yes, I don't know how I got to be the guy now, but I'll take it.
I mean, do we want to take turns?
Jaws.
We can all take turns.
Yeah.
No, I think Jake's good at it.
Bryant doesn't want to do it.
Great. He just doesn't
I don't want to do it. No, I don't want to do it.
All right. Hit the record button. I'll go.
You are listening to the Alpha BassCast with Jake Boomer, Bryant Smith, and Beau Fletcher.
Welcome back to the Alpha BassCast. And tonight we have a special guest, the winner of the BAM Lake Shasta 135 boat opening derby of the 2025 season. Pretty excited to talk to Alex. You got to say it right. Alex Niapas. It's not Niapas. Did I say that right, Bryant?
I don't know. I was going to ask him. That was going to be one of my first questions. Is it Niapas?
I thought it was Niapas.
It's Niapas.
So
Is it Niapas?
I don't know.
I will have to ask.
We'll find out.
We're going to look like dum-dums until we find out.
Yeah, well, we look like dum-dums in that tournament because if we weighed 11 pounds, we were all giving ourselves high fives, and that guy was upset with his first day 16-pound bag, so pretty impressive. There's just this like light switch that hasn't come on for me there. But anyways,
I don't even know where the light switch is.
Beau isn't even in the house yet.
Yeah, no.
He's walking around like feeling the walls for the light switch.
I'm walking around the cul-de-sac wondering how to even get in the house.
Yeah. So let's bring him on whenever you can, Beau. Like, launch that guy. Tell him to jump on.
Let's do this.
How you guys doing?
Great.
Good. Thanks for jumping on, man. I know you've probably done about 10 on podcasts by the time you got to our mildly slow ability to organize, get the software ready, get everybody in the same room, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is probably my first one, so.
Yeah.
Especially your chat. So, first question. How do you say your last name? It's Niapas. Niapas. So we were all wrong.
No, I think Jake said it.
No, don't give him credit.
But I cheated. I cheated. I listened to another one of his podcasts.
I get it. It's kind of it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah,
that's right. That's like when I order anything that involves a name, you go to McDonald's or whatever, I just say Brian because I gave up about 15 years ago trying to enunciate the T. Even if I say Brian with a T, it's still written Brian on it. Yeah.
I got you beat, buddy. I get Biao. Biao is very common.
Oh, Swedish.
and then Starbucks, you get the girl with the really flowy writing. The U looks like an N. So I've been called Bean many times.
Bean Fletcher.
Bean, we got your coffee ready? We got a coffee for Bean? Yeah, I'm Bean.
I got you guys beat. I had a jersey when I was in high school that somebody put the L in there when they transposed it. So I was Bloomer. I was so mad. Like, Bloomer for real. Like, that pissed me off so bad. Makes me say, he's a late bloomer.
Yeah.
That's
the
fitting.
Sonic Boom. The Sonic Bloomer.
That's the other one. How did I get that?
The Sonic Bloomer.
The Sonic Bloomer.
All right. We got a great guest. Let's get to it. Come on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We get out of control. Sorry. All right. So what do we get to, Alex? I know that you have a tournament next week. The last thing we're going to do is pry you of any information that you could use to actually repeat, which, hey, here's a great question. Other than Nick Wood, has that been done before? To win back-to-back major tournaments on Shasta and the winter.
I'm sure Greg.
I was just going to, yep. I was going to say, I think Greg did it.
Greg, what's his name? Big Michaels probably did it.
Michael.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff did it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff. So when you won the Wild West, when you weighed whatever it was, 62.95 and embarrassed the rest of the field, didn't you win the team tournament that was there the week before? Yeah, we did. Yeah, so that's two big tournaments too.
Yeah, 29 pounds, I think, in that. And, uh, there was like 232 boats in that tournament.
Yeah.
That team.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So these boys at One Bass better watch out.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. We ran by team partners stuff. We were throwing jigs and whatnot, and we caught 14, 15 pounds, and he kind of looked at me and goes, "You take the boat and fish what you want to fish." And I threw out a hog hunter mag at first cast. I caught a 6.5 spot, and this is while we were creek fishing. And he goes, "Maybe we're onto something." And I was like, "Oh, maybe." So we cut off all the hooks of our baits, and we ran one arm and had like 45 bites. And we're like, I told him, they never seen this bait here before.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
nobody's thrown that bait in the lake before. That's kind of how I know.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
That's got to be really cool to have something that nobody else has, especially when big tournaments are coming up.
Yeah. It's kind of a good thing I met Eric Smith, in Clear Lake probably 15, 16 years ago. Yeah.
So I got this crazy story about Eric Smith, and a lot of people. So Eric Smith's old team partner is the guy that actually did tournaments with me, got me into it. My first boat I bought from his old team partner. So I've known Eric Smith for a long time, since I started in the sport. And that dude is a character, for sure. Very. And I remember what he called the hog hunter, he called the mag, right? Wasn't it the mag back in the day?
Yeah, it was a bait Smith mag.
Yeah. And I remember fishing a tournament, and because I got to fish with Ed Prue, I got to use the 6-inch. Do you guys remember the 6-inch bait Smith when it came out?
Oh, yeah.
That won
Yeah.
everything, right? You put on a flipping stick and just flip it down a dock and reel it really slow, and you caught everything in the lake. And then the mag came out. Oh, yeah, that right there. Yeah. And then the mag came out, and I remember fishing a tournament against Ed and Eric, and the thing would hit the water. It was like, I'm like, that dude's throwing a tennis shoe. Like, nothing will ever eat that stupid bait. Like, even when they were like, "You guys want one?" I'm like, "No, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen." Now look at it. Probably $1 million been won on that thing, probably just by Alex.
I don't think I've won that much, but yeah, there's something to it, man. It just keeps catching fish. It's just has the right kick. It's a natural kick to speed ratio. Just some of the fish get key on. They can see something unnatural. It kicks way too much at a certain speed, at a slow speed. They wise up to that stuff.
So do you throw a boot tail or anything like that anymore, or is that just too unnatural for these fish anymore?
No, I throw a boot tail. I mean, it's a boot tail, but it just kicks a little less, not as defiant. It doesn't have the big. And the HUD works great in dirtier water, stained water at night. I mean, it still catches the fish. But they need to get wise to it. I've tested it on biting big fish, where I'm catching them on the mag, and I throw a HUD in there, and all I get is a little inspection bite. And then I throw a mag back in there and get clean.
So before this tournament started, I was pretty adamant after the interview with Nick Wood that a guy like me, or somebody that's not really refined at swimbait fishing, and the 4 or 5 comments you've made have proven that I know nothing about swimbait fishing. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about things at a level that you have a ton of knowledge and obviously experience. So do you think a guy could go down, say that Juan Bass is next week? Do you think a guy could go down there with 4 days of practice, maybe 5, and be competitive with a swim bait? Or do you think that it takes a body of knowledge? Like, you've spent, you're obviously like really good at it and spent a lot of time doing it. Do you think that you'll waste more time trying to figure out all those little nuances that you understand in that 5-day practice or 4-day practice, and it's not worth it? I know people will listen to this and be like, he's trying to talk about throwing a swim bait, but there is a lot of like you said, the amount of that the tail moves at certain speeds. That's not something you pick up in an hour throwing it down a bank line.
Yeah.
Right.
I think right now with the weather coming in, it's going to open up a lot of different patterns. There's going to be probably a rig bite and um, probably more swimbait fish to be caught too. Uh, yeah, I think that it's kind of hard if you've never done it before. I would try it. I would, uh, you know, put all my cookies in one basket and put it. It's going to be it'd be tough. I don't think the swimbait bite's that wide open for you to, you know, to actually win a tournament, find something like that. Just my opinion.
You're
It's
a specialist.
yeah, it's kind of yeah. I've done it for I don't know since '02. I've just been throwing swim baits.
And you're from the mother lode region, so you do it on, Pedro and Maloney's and all those lakes. And those are,
Yeah.
I think to this day, those are still, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, those are still great swim bait lakes where you can throw them and get consistent bites under the right conditions.
Yeah. Yeah. Don Pedro's fishing excellent, and Maloney's. I haven't been out there since the new rule changes for get your boat inspected and wait 30 days. I'm not going to do that. I don't like Maloney's that much.
I don't know if it was one of the Motherlode lakes, but I just read one of the California lakes that shut down brought in rental boats, and you can't launch your private boat, but you can rent a boat from them.
RD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an
Oh my God.
that's an impressive opportunity for a cash grab.
Well, they always have rental boats, but yeah, they're just saying that that's the only way you can get on Party.
That's
And
wild.
You're not wrong.
That's wild.
Not wrong. They make a lot more on a rental boat than they do letting a guy launch for 20 bucks.
Right.
Yeah, on a boat launch fee.
All right. So are you born and raised from Angels Camp, or tell me a little bit about where you come from?
I was born in Modesto. And my parents lived there for 4 or 5 years, and then they moved us up to Calaveras County, West Point, and that's kind of the boondocks out there. It's pretty secluded. It's the only thing there is, a little gas station and Indian reservation over there. But yeah, when I was 18, moved to Angels Camp. Started fishing. I met Tom Jockton. He was one of the guys that owned. He's the first owner of Glory Hole Sports, and he kind of got me into the tournament fishing. Got my bug, and I joined the local Calaveras Bass Anglers and went from there.
And at what point in that journey did I'm going to call it the addiction for swimbait fishing. Like, when did that kick in for you?
Yeah, it was probably around '02. I was throwing those old Optimum. I forget the name of them, but they're little detail kind of shad.
Remember those?
Yeah, remember those? If you have one, they're probably the lead's probably your head's all white, from the lead and the plastic chemical in those. Yeah, that was my first swimbait fish. It was at Maloney's with that. I caught I think it was like about a 7.5 pounder on it, and I was stoked. I come back it was pre-fishing, and I come back for the tournament and throw up. And I hook another one, and I'm fighting in the boat. And it looked like a 9-10 pounder. I was like, oh, this is going to be it. And get it up. It's a quaffleish. Yeah, so ever since that's kind of, and then when the HUD came out, a different thing. That was like kind of eye-opening. We'll let you know how many big fish are actually in this lake. And the first week with the HUD, I caught a 1570 at Don Pedro and 4 10 pounders at Maloney's.
Holy cow.
It's like a 3-day period. I was like, this is crazy.
That'll fish you right there. Like,
Yeah, that kind of got me. But I learned a lot from doing that.
when did you meet Eric Smith?
It's about, I'm saying it was two, I don't know, say 2008, 9, somewhere in there. We were staying at the World Mark there at Clear Lake. And I think my old team partner, was struck a conversation with him in the hot tub. And I mean, he realized who he was. And, well, you make the Mac. From there, that's how we met. And yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if we can ever get him on the show, but that dude has forgot about more bass fishing than most people will ever know. Like, and he talks about he's fun. He's amazingly funny to listen to with his Waverly accent. You know, I mean, the guy is funny, but he starts talking about stuff, and you're like, how do you even have the capacity to think about that? Like, there was an inlet at Banks Lake. And we all launched our boats, and everybody's boat was going back towards the dam, and nobody could figure out why. Like, the water's coming out of the dam, and he started talking about rip currents and back eddies at 40 feet versus 22 feet. And my eyes roll back in my head, and I'm like, there's no way this redneck from Waverly knows this stuff. Like, but he knows it dialed. Like, that guy has been cashing checks and winning tournaments for a lot of years, and then obviously he's got a crazy attention to detail when it comes to making swim baits.
Right. He loves coming up to Clear Lake and catching swim bait fish. And he's going to come up later this month. And we're going to go out and fish Clear Lake for close to a couple weeks. And I'm going to have to go back and fish the pro-am at Don Pedro. But yeah, he's coming up.
Man,
It's
I mean,
awesome.
Mark's schedule kind of lined up for you, okay?
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence of not fishing Shasta. I wasn't sure if I should. I got to
Good choice.
kind of just want to save my fish for one bass, and then, they weren't really cooperating good as I like. But
Sorry. Saved my fish for
Just
one
dying.
bass. Yeah.
I thought it was when he
I'll
said,
take the next trophy. Yeah.
I thought he said it was when they were biting like he wanted is when you spit up your drink.
It's like, I'll save my fish for the other tournament and win. Actually, I just went them both. The hell with it.
Why
well,
not?
I don't. There's some luck going involved. Just everything went right in that tournament, but I wasn't gonna fish it. But Clara texted me, and they had over 100 boats, and so I gave her my credit card, and she was at the show. She signed me up, so at the ISC show.
And she fished it as well, right? As a pro?
Yeah, she has a code.
Okay,
Yeah, she fishes out of code.
cool. And then you
Yeah, super cool.
you run a guide service as well, correct?
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, you get catching California.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
And is it motherlode specific, or like where do you bounce around to?
Yeah, I can go motherlode, Clear Lake. I haven't thought about doing the Shasta one.
You might want to think about it. I bet you'd be busy.
It's
Yeah.
funny. Some guy after that Wild West tournament, he offered me $2,500 to take him out.
Wow.
Guiding.
You should have done it.
Yeah.
Thrown a worm the whole day.
Sanko.
Drug a jig in 40 feet.
I kind of told him, it's like, yeah, I can't show you.
Yeah. There's a group of anglers at Shasta that tend to always be in the winning. There's like 4 or 5 guys. You're one of them. Greg. Michaels didn't fish with that. I was kind of surprised about that. I hope he fishes next week.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the light switch, right? And every body of water that gets a lot of pressure or is just different, there's a light switch. And it goes on for some guys, and some guys are just check cashers, right? But we're never going to be at the top. You know what I mean? There's this whatever it is. And Bryant can probably talk about this more, but Like you can go to a lake and you just want to do well and not fail, but there's something you're missing that 5 or 6 or 10 guys know about. You know what I mean? And I couldn't tell you what it is all the time, but I feel like you guys that understand those really big baits and understand how to catch the fish that are over 2. Like a lot of us are like just trying to get to the 2-pound mark. We'll stay in that area and we'll fish for 2s or whatever. But then there's a group of you guys that understand how to always catch a 4 or a 5 every day, right? And that light switch, like we were just talking about earlier, Beau's like that light switch is in the room and the lights are off and you're looking for it. Neither Beau or I can find it. So it's on the floor or the ceiling. I can't find that light switch.
No, it's a grind. You should never settle for, 2-pounders, especially the way it's fishing right now. You just have to keep moving and trying to find them. Because I did that the 2 days I pre-fished. I think I caught 2 fish over 3 pounds in 2 days. And on the last day, I caught a 4-pounder. It kind of keyed me in on what area I should fish. But I fished a lot of water, and it's easy to, stop and start catching little fish. And you only have so much time. You just have to work and find them.
It's a total commitment deal when you do it, right? Like is there a backup plan, or is there hey, I need to go catch them, or you just...
On the first day of the tournament, I caught a 3.5-pound spot in a 440 largemouth, and I left that spot, and I was like, okay, that's great. I was shooting for 14, 15 pounds, and I left that spot and tried to save it, and I ran around with one of the arms there, and by noon, I was catching fish, but they were a pound and a half, 110s, 112s. And around noon, I got on a pattern and started catching. I caught a 213, 214, and then I started catching these 2-pound largemouth left and right, and kind of left that after that. So that got me up to 16 pounds. But yeah, when I was catching those filler fish, I was throwing a smaller Swimbait. Yeah, it's another prototype bait that's going to come out pretty soon.
Oh boy,
I've
throwing
seen this
these one
Swimbait.
bass guys for a loop.
I've actually seen that in person.
You seen it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because
I think, Brian, you need to get some. If they get on the market, you order a bunch, because I could almost guarantee it's going to work great at the Great Lakes, the Northern Swing, the Bassmasters.
I'm in. I'll order a bunch just because you told me to.
Yeah, I would. It's a smallmouth killer. I mean,
That's awesome.
Works. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you even own a spinning rod?
Oh, yeah. Well, funny, that little Swimbait, I throw it on a spinning rod.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's kind of crazy. I have like 8 or 9 spinning rods and pretty much maybe 4 or 5 casting rods in my Shasta. My Shasta rig. It's kind of the extreme to another.
Yeah, there's no middle ground.
There isn't. No.
6 to 8 pound to 20 to 25. That's pretty much.
That makes it simple when you're going up there.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of narrows down. I like to throw the jig, but I can't catch them on the jig up there very good lately.
Mm-hmm. So when you're in a tournament, and I don't want to dive into like how you're throwing a swim bait or anything like that, because you got a really good shot at winning this next one. I got a feeling. But how, for a guy who wants to incorporate a swim bait into his tournament fishing, is there some cues that you go off of each day? Like, hey, I need to pick it up. Hey, I need to put it down. Stuff like that you could shed some light on.
kind of have to read the conditions, what you have. And first thing in the morning, that's when I usually throw the swim bait, try to catch the big fish first. There's always a morning bite. I don't care what any water there is, what lake. There's always a little window in the morning. And do that. And then I just, after doing it so long, you kind of get, intuition that you're wasting time. And then you have to go find, catch some fish, find the better fish you can, filler fish, what I call them. Yeah. And do that. And then if the wind starts blowing and we had a good spot, hopefully we got swim bait up, we start throwing it.
So it is pretty situational then in some point throughout the day. You'll just pick it up, make a few casts, and then move on.
There's some days, especially like at a place like a Don Pedro, there's days where that's the only thing you need to be put in your hand.
Based on the weather or just based on the fish activity?
The fish activity. It's just they'll bite. I mean, sometimes they're just schooled up so good. You know you get hit. It's just one of those deals where you throw it away. I'm thinking this one time at Don Pedro, me and Jason, my team partner, it was Tola, Lake Tola. We had a team event, aviator. And I think we both caught 16 magfish. That was all day. Literally all day. Yeah.
Whoa.
Nothing giant, but we had like 33 pounds. So we were calling a bunch of 5-pounders and we just threw it all day. We didn't even pick up a jig. It's not, if you already have, 5 swimming pools, it's going to be hard to upgrade. So we might as well just keep throwing.
Crazy. I don't think I've gotten 16 bites on a big swim bait in my life.
Have you gotten one?
All right, yeah, no, you might be right on that too.
I mean, it's less than 16.
Yeah.
On Shasta, it can't be more than one.
I almost
definitely
feel like in
not
some
more
ways.
than one on Shasta.
Wait, once you shared the Bryant Swimbait story, I feel like we're just abusing him by putting on these amazing swimbait fishermen.
It's okay. I'm learning. This is good. I'm learning.
You know, it would be cool. And Alex, you got to come back on if he does it. But we got to get Eric Smith on here. You think he'd do it?
I'm pretty sure he'd do it. I don't know what the phone situation is, but yeah, he's, he just got a cell phone maybe like 3 years ago. So I don't.
Dude had a pager up until that point.
Oh,
And most of the time you were calling a landline. It had like a little dial ringer on it. Like I'd call him like, oh yeah. The only saving grace, Alex, is that his roommate or the guy that's renting his old house is Noah Witten, who I don't know if you talked to him. Yeah. Noah and I force Noah to fish team tournaments once in a while when I need a kid to chew out. So Noah could probably do the technical part, all right, look at the camera. But if you could get Eric Smith on here, it'd be the best podcast on the planet. I don't know if you could ask him enough questions, but I promise you it'll be the most viewed podcast. It would be awesome.
Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff. Yeah. The funny thing was that Clear Lake, they found some dead hitch one time, and they wanted to make some bait attractive, and they're rubbing their this chum from a dead hitch on this one.
Make it some scent.
Make it sound like a hitch.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I used to call him like, dude, that dude smells like smelly jelly. Like every time I saw him, like he's got containers of smelly jelly and he would just slather up the swim baits to the point that I was like, dude, with that much stuff on them, they ain't even kick when they go through the water. They'll just slide through the water. There's no water resistance. You can't put that much on there. And he just slather them up.
Yeah. I try not to do that. I don't do that. I don't know. I can't, I don't, I don't think it, I don't think it helps, but I don't think it hurts you.
You don't put any scent on your swim baits?
No, I do not.
What about bait fuel? Tell us what you think about bait fuel. Because I have a theory.
Say that again. Oh, bait fuel? I haven't played. I hear people swear. I know sometimes when I'm bed fishing, I'll throw some of that stuff on there. I don't know if it helps, but just make sure they grab it and hold on to it maybe a little longer than. But other than that, that's the only time I throw it.
You guys
What's-
want my theory?
Yeah, I want to know your
What's that?
theory.
You
Let's
guys
hear
can
your theory.
Okay. So now after, all of the conspiracy theorists have actually been vetted out in the last couple months with all the crazy stuff that's gone on in our country. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Who makes a clear liquid that looks like KY jelly, right? And then all of a sudden there's this huge marketing trend behind it. Like all of this, the scientific this and it's got pheromones in it and all this stuff. But then at the bottom of it says it's water soluble. Well, that means that it comes off in the water, right? Like I have an engineering degree. I understand water soluble. What if some guy had a bunch of extra KY jelly and is like, well, maybe we'll just sell it to fishermen with a really great, that's some of the best marketing I have ever seen. But I will say, even if I'm right or wrong, I still use it on my bait.
Shake vigorously. Apply directly to bait.
Does it
I
really
guess-
say water soluble on it, Brian?
No, it does not.
I've heard it multiple times. Is it water
So-
soluble?
The science behind it, how I was explained, is it has to be water soluble because in a fish's nose, the scent receptors are actually too small for an oil base to actually go in them and then the fish smell it. So this is water soluble. So it does not last very long on your bait, but it does actually provide a scent that the fish can smell.
Which is insane marketing, right? Like,
I've
I'm
heard-
just saying, how long are we talking in the water? Like, if it's in 10 feet or 20, at 20, it's gone. It's come off your jig or
That's
your
why it
swim
says to
bait.
let marinate.
All right, I'm off of it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this,
Moving
just so that I don't
on.
get, get fried by the bait industry. I had a guide buddy of mine in the Northeast who had 2 clients in his boat, and I'm not sponsored by Bait Fuel, so take this for what it is. They were both thrown on the same rock pile loaded with smallmouth. He gave one guy the bait fuel and one guy didn't. He just threw his worm in there without it. Exact same setups, even down to the rods. And the guy with bait fuel kicked his butt 250%. So take that for what it's worth. Sorry to subject you, Alex, to that
I've
boomer
experienced,
nonsense.
I've experienced that with I got gas on my hands one time, and I had one day where I did not catch fish, and I think after I had my buddy retie, tie a new jig and plastic on it, and after that I started catching fish. It was kind of weird. So I know they could take the smell and taste or whatever smell. I know there's something to it. But as far as swim baits, I think they made up the decision, long before to eat it or not. I don't think they get too close to it and smell.
Well, how do you explain the ones that follow behind it?
Yeah.
Is that the cadence that you were talking about? Like there's a
Yeah.
like it, do you get a lot of followers?
Well, not really to the boat. I get a lot of since getting live scope. I get a lot of fish following the bait for a brief period, and they kind of know that buffer window, 20, 30 feet from you, and then they kind of peel off. Um, but with the glide bait, you'll get quite a few that fall into the boat.
That was one of my questions: is how has forward facing changed your swim bait fishing, or has it changed it at all?
Um, it saves me a bunch of time, put it that way. Um, I think it's a trade-off. I kind of know they could feel it, um, but I like to line up on, submerged trees and whatnot. I can just, line it up so much easier than the old days of having a waypoint and making half a dozen casts and know, went over it kind of deal.
Mhm.
Now,
So you use it more as an efficiency tool rather than a see the fish, that kind
yeah,
of deal.
most of the time that's the case. But with
It's
that
just information.
with that
right?
finesse minnow, I kind of that helped out quite a bit catching those fish that I see, that are suspended. The little 5-inch minnow. I was gonna bring some, but I forgot. I was in a hurry to get back. I had to take my boat to CNC to get serviced, but I forgot them.
It's all right. It's okay that you keep those a secret a little bit longer.
Yeah, go in one bath on them, and then you
Yeah.
can let the
And then
world
come
see them.
back out.
I mean, it's not like from listening to you, I've listened to 2 of your podcasts already. Like, it's not like you just chuck in, like, these are tools, but they're not easy tools. You have a body of knowledge that you're applying to really good baits that the rest of us would have to actually learn it. You know what I mean? They're not like catch-alls. Like the chatterbait, when it came out, you just reeled it. You know what I mean? But that's not where you're at with this stuff.
No, no. The past 5-6 years, it's kind of, it's slowed down. The fish wise up to it. And there's I think a lot of it's hooks. They see the hooks and they're pretty wise to that. And that's why that new bait is working so good. Because that's when I was telling Eric about this at Shasta. I'd cut the hooks off and get 30 or 40 bites in a day. Okay, I'm going to smoke them. Tournament time, put hooks on, and maybe catch 1 or 2 fish at most. And that's kind of how, I got his brain about this meat. So exposed to it. I mean, it just looks like a trout chicken swimming by. And it catches a lot of 3 to 4 pound spots. It doesn't matter. I mean, they come up and they hook them perfectly.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's wicked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of curious on that, but no. Yeah, I was surprised how good it hooks and you don't have to hog them to the boat. It's like hooking them with a worm. It has a 5-aught Namagatsu straight shank hook, punching hook, and pretty much just tie a snell knot to it. And I haven't lost one once I hooked one.
Wow. And that's hard to do with a
Cool.
weedless bait. Any
Yeah.
weedless
Big time.
bait.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many fish, like, imagining you throwing a swim bait with your knowledge and throwing it without a hook. Like, I can't even fathom the amount of giant fish that have bit you in practice that you just don't get to put a hook in them. That's just wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of a curve. I don't know how much it actually helps. I used to think, I don't catch a fish, but I've heard studies now, where the guys at Berkeley, doing studies on their cage fish, their pet fish, running, crankbait with no hooks or a rattle trap. If it just biting, not getting hooked, just them striking it and realizing it's not real. It takes up to 9 to 10 months for that same fish to bite that same lure again.
You're kidding.
So
No kidding.
that
Wow.
kind of opens up. Kind of, yeah. So
I had no idea.
it's kind
Yeah,
of
like the shake 'em off theory isn't worth nothing. You might as well just catch them.
we might as well just catch them. I kind of
You're not coming back. Oh, that's
That's a-
crazy.
yeah.
That is
So you
wild.
actually think you're hurting yourself just taking the hooks off.
Just
And
throwing. Yeah, I think I'd be better off just graphing the spot and seeing if it lines up. But who knows? It helps. It helps having confidence in there, certain spots. Have your top 5 spots for the fish, and
I do know that everybody considers you the swim bait master. But I think you're also really like a really proficient, if not exceptional, finesse fisherman. Like one of my buddies fishes with you all the time up one of the arms, and he said you're 2 times better than anybody else with a float and fly that he's been around.
yeah, I'm pretty good at that too. That's a hard technique to dial, but it took me like 2 or 3 years to figure that out.
Crazy. It
Yeah.
seems so stupid, right? It's like a bobber, but
Yeah,
it's not easy.
it's not easy. I mean, you could catch fish. And that was my deal. I'd be like, okay, you just have to. It's a hard technique. That's kind of put it that way. It's not easy to figure out how to catch those bigger 3 to 5 pound spots.
I hope the guys that listen to this on their way to compete against you are like, we hate the Alpha BassCast.
It's just their minds are going to be racing after this.
But it's true though. Like it's so true. The drop shot, right? When I came up, I'm a Clearwater smallmouth fisherman. The drop shot was something that was just easy to me. And then I remember going, and Bryant had to teach me how to punch. He's like, we're punching this tournament and you suck at it. Told me one time in Texas, you suck at punching. And he's like, he looks at me, he looks at what I'm doing. He's like, you're not even gonna cash a check. And he rigged my whole rig up. And can I tell him what you did? Because this is ingenious. With the yellow line.
I don't even remember what this is.
Oh yeah, it was after you chewed me out and said, you suck. You're not going to catch him on a drop shot. You're not going to catch him on a chat.
A lot, so you're going to have to narrow it down.
So anyways, he's like, what do you mean you can't feel the bite? And I'm like, I can't feel the bite. I'm sorry. Every time I lift up, it swims off. I don't get a hook in him. So he gave me colored braid for flipping in like 6-8 feet of water. You can't feel the bite. Can I tell the story?
Yeah. Everybody knows that for
Please
yellow
do,
braid.
because I am terrible at punching, so I need anything I
Okay.
can get.
So I couldn't feel the bite. The bite was so soft. So he gave me colored braid. So he put a reel, he took my reel, stripped all my brand new braid off of it. It was like brand new, like 65-pound braid that I paid all this money for. He stripped it off and threw it in the trash. But at this point, I'm losing it and throwing stuff at him. And he puts on 65-pound yellow braid. And he says, how deep are you fishing? And I said, probably 6 to 8 feet. And so he took a black marker and marked it 8 feet. He said, listen, I know, he said it in a really nice way. It was like, idiot. 2 feet plus the bottom means you should see 2 feet of black line, right? He said, if you flip it in there and it goes down and you see 2 feet of black line, it's on the bottom. If you go to lift it up and it goes down, so it's going away from you, one's got it. He's swimming off. You can set the hook
That's
now.
genius.
Idiot. Right?
Yeah.
He said, if you flip it in there and you see 3 feet, one's got it. Idiot. Set the hook. Do you remember that story? I came back from like 90th to like 2 places out of a check. And the only reason I didn't get a check in that tournament was I turned myself in for not having a life jacket on in practice because I was drifting
Called
into
you
a
an
tree.
idiot for that too.
Yeah, lots of idiots. But I turned myself in and got a 2-pound penalty, but with Bryant's help with the grade thing. But the point I'm trying to make here, Alex, is a lot of guys buy a bobber, which my dad, who is a steelhead fisherman, makes so much fun of us technical bass fishermen who are literally fishing with a bobber,
fishing.
like the beginning of time fishing. But you get a bobber and you get your fly and you bomb it out there and you should be good at it. But I don't I honestly feel like it's as complex as flipping would be to somebody like me.
Yeah, it's very complicated. It's it's I mean, that's another thing too. A lot of people don't realize that first drop, if your bobber doesn't stand up, it's like one of those deals where it's probably a fish, but it could be a rock, and a lot of people are scared to set the hook. That's another thing.
So is that so that we're not completely creating everybody in the world to hate us? What would be the one thing you would tell the float and fly guys, the beginners, that'll help them out? Don't give them a big secret, but I do have a pen and a paper here.
It's just there's little things. If you get a lot of stand up bites where your bobber uh,
Falls over.
falls over, it's probably saying that your leader's a little too deep. You need to do a shorter leader because they're going down, grabbing it, coming back up most of the time.
No kidding.
If that keeps happening, happens more than once, it's probably your leader's too deep. You need to shorten the bobber style. And then, and that initial fall is the key, is to watch it, anything, try to feel, because sometimes you'll feel the bite, through that braid. I don't know what you guys use, but I use braid with a fluorocarbon leader.
Mm-hmm.
But that helps. You could feel, especially when the big ones bite, you'll feel that first dum, and then your bobber will go down.
Dang. I'm usually looking around at the scenery waiting for my bobber to take up.
That's another, you have to watch your bobber. It's kind of because you turn your head, you look around, and you're like, oh,
It's gone.
Bobber
Your co-angler's yelling at you.
Yeah.
The worst thing is forward imaging, because when you become a good
that was
scoper,
the best. Tell them the story.
well, when you're like Bryant is probably one of the best scopers on the West Coast. Like I get to fish with a lot of really good fishermen, but the problem is you're drawn to it. Right? It becomes like second nature that every time you make a cast, you look down for all the information that it gives you. Where you landed, the splash, what happened when it landed. Well, he throws a bobber out there and looks down. And the trout eats his bobber. His bobber's gone. And he's looking around. He said, "You got one, idiot." He extends the hook. It's in that video.
Oh, I do.
But, the scope can't tell you your bobber's down, Bryant. Until you see your bobber swimming through the water column.
It's so true. That was funny.
Yeah. It's hard. If you are a really good scoper and want to learn how to throw a bobber, I would say you probably need to turn your scope off for a few days. I could be wrong, but I can't do both. I can't look at the scope and look at a bobber. Like you just said 5 things about understanding a bobber. That means you should turn all your crafts off when you throw it. You need to watch and listen. I never thought about one eating it on the fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They do that quite a bit. It's
so crazy.
It's usually the biggest fish in the group too. On the first cast in that area of fish, and usually the biggest one gets it first.
I have to apologize, guys. We need to pause for a second because I've got to go take an old man break. So,
Oh, dude.
Sorry, guy.
Every time.
Way to go, Jake.
Well, at least he didn't take his headphones with him.
God, yeah.
So to get back on track, we don't need to keep you too much longer, Alex, but we were talking about how you would be awesome to talk about Pedro. It's kind of like a precursor because there are a lot of guys that are going to try to get into the Pedro tournament. It's kind of cool that we have 2 events there. We have a Pro Tour and the Pro-Am. I guess the best question would be, what do you think end of February will look like? And you got to remember, I've never been there.
Yeah. But it's anything's possible. like I was saying earlier, I don't know, another interview, but I was telling them that it seems like every end of the lake is producing fish, and it's, you know, it's not like one arm of the creek is working. Seems like all the main lake is working right now. Every creek is producing nice fish, so it's, who knows, somebody might stumble on something and come in with 30 plus pounds, and then one day it's fishing that good right now.
And you guys haven't really had your like winter weather yet, right?
It's, yeah, we did earlier. It
Okay.
rained December pretty good, and then it stopped for about a month. So we're supposed to get some more this week.
You're going to get it next week, buddy.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
know.
He's
better
excited
pack your
for it, though.
bucket
He don't
bass.
care. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, he don't care.
All the
"Ooh,
bucket bass.
they're going to buy."
I don't like fishing in the rain very much, but as long as there's no wind, I'm heavy. Put it that way.
As long as there's no snow.
I don't.
No, the snow's warm.
The snow is actually warmer. I'd like to be in the snow.
100%. 100% agree.
Warmer than the rain. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get that rain, that's 36, 37 degrees.
No, that's the worst.
It's the worst.
It's
I'd
miserable.
rather
That's brutal.
snow. I think the fish bite better in snow, in my opinion. I don't know what it is.
It's just quieter on the
quiet.
top. Yeah.
It's quiet. Yeah, I think their senses will keen or something. It's kind of weird. That's my experience fishing Maloney's, Don Pedro. Clearly, it's snowing. Big fish are usually biting.
It's like that up here,
Interesting.
too. Like, I think
So-
it was snowing.
Where'd
Me and my
Billy
old
go?
team partner years
Well,
ago.
we
caught
don't
the
need him
biggest-
anyway.
It's the biggest bag I've ever weighed. I think it was
I got
almost
a
30
few more
pounds.
questions before
And
we
it was
wrap
only
this
when
up.
it was snowing.
So, what is your biggest fish?
17 pounds, 13 ounces.
Okay. That was at Maloney's, right?
That was a Maloney's.
All right. What is it like to catch a 17, almost 18 pounder? Because I'll never know. So I've got to live vicariously through you. What is
Mhm.
that like?
It's a rush. It's a big rush. And you hook one of those fish and you have your drag locked and you're pull and drag.
No way.
Like it's and you're like, it's yeah. But I've caught I caught a 16 and a bunch of 15s, but
Do you still have the
A
lake?
bunch of
Was it the
15s?
lake? Yeah, a bunch. Yeah.
So
Do you still
again,
have the lake record at McClure?
I believe so.
Yeah. That was 16 and a half pounder.
And a half in the ABA tournament.
Jeez. In a tournament. Yeah.
It was a funny
That's
story.
so awesome.
Week before this, I think this was the English Choice was around. Me and my partner, we were from a different arm, probably 6, 7 miles away. And I hooked this one. It was a big fish. It was probably bigger than 16 and a half.
No way.
I got it to the boat, and it was laying on its side, and I think my team partner froze. He was shocked how big it was. He sat there, and he was like, "Man,
What do I do?
So he got another thing of line. So literally, he dove right over the net, and my line was between his arms and hands. And he was holding the net. And I see him take his right arm off it and go around, free up my line. So I just pulled it out. Some reason he was focused up by the trolling motor, and fish came out and jumped right at the side of the boat and threw the bait. And when I was I was devastated. And then, so the next tournament, the ABA, caught that one fish and totally redeemed herself.
Totally redeemed
I
yourself.
was going to say, that
That's
redeemed
right.
him.
That's right. He's still allowed to fish with you. Yeah.
I was going
Yeah.
to say.
So that's incredible.
Wild.
Yeah. It's a rush when you hook those fish and they come up and jump and wallow. And it's hard to control him. Even that 16.5 I caught on the Swimbait, he did the same thing. I was cranking him, and I thought I could pull him up and hog him to the boat. He just sit there and just dove under the boat. And then he came out and shot out like a rocket ship, and he pulled the drag on what, I don't know, the reel I had was probably 16, 17-pound drag, and he pulled it like it was there.
That's amazing. How many teeners have you like caught? Could you guess? Yeah.
No, probably 20.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Do you think that that opportunity is going away? That you're going to catch less of them in the future, or do you think that that's? I mean, are the fisheries changing? Do you think they're getting smarter? Like, do you think you're going to catch 20 in the next 10 years?
20 teeners? No, I doubt that. I think it's changed a little bit. You know, more guys are throwing swim baits. Seems to be a lot more people fishing. And, but I mean, it's possible to catch a big one. I mean, there's rumors that a local guy caught a 14.5 at Maloney's. Yeah, just recently.
Snuck his kayak down since nobody else can get on the water.
Yeah, you can get on the water, but you have to get your boat inspected, and you have to wait 30 days.
Jeez. Yeah, they put that like
30-day deal. That 30-day
that plug
deal.
leash or whatever on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you can't fish any other lake. If you fish another lake, you have to get it inspected. They have to do their deal.
I got a deal for you, Alex. I got a deal. So I have an extra boat lying around because I can't sell it, which it is for sale. It's a Ranger. If anybody wants it, let me know. But I'll tow that thing down to Maloney's. We'll let it sit there for a month. And
Okay.
as long as you give me a few trips at Maloney's, we can use that thing.
That sounds all right. That sounds good.
Leave it in the
Yeah.
water,
He's in.
tied up to a buoy. Yeah.
He's in.
I don't care.
You take your boat back. You just have to wait 30 days. They put a band on your eye. I don't know. I was thinking about doing that at Claire's boat, getting that
That'd be
inspected.
awesome.
Yeah, because the fishing, before they closed it, it was excellent. It was
Gotta
really
only
good.
get better with,
Yeah.
however many guys are on it.
Yeah. There's
You
some
know,
big fish in that.
you'd think that. I'll tell you guys a funny story. You'd think that like the lack of pressure would change a fishery, right? And you get better. But the fishery that we have potholes up here, when COVID hit, our governor shut down fishing. Like came out, said no fishing. You're not allowed. They revoked they put a cop
Too
at
much
every boat
distance.
ramp.
Too
Yeah.
much social
Way too much.
distance.
Yeah, you were too far
Way
away.
too far apart.
Yeah. It was dumb. So we had, I think it was like 3 months. And then we have this amazing fishery potholes that has 1 billion fish in it. So when they opened it back up, we all raced back to potholes like they're going to be the dumbest fish you ever, they've never seen a boat. We're going to cream them. And fishing for like 3 weeks sucked. It was horrible. Like I remember thinking like, what changed? Did we not follow them well? Did we not understand the progression that they're in? But I remember everybody getting together going like, they didn't get dumber for 3 months. And then your story about how it takes 10 months for them to forget the crankbait probably makes a little bit more sense. But I remember that, like, no pressure at all. The only benefit was they didn't have any pressure during the spawn. So we had a really good spawn that year, but no, it stunk. Everyone was like, this sucks.
No, you got some pretty cool lakes up there. You used to go up there and fish all those Ponderay and
Oh yeah.
Port Lane. Yeah,
Good
those are
stuff.
fun lakes.
Yeah, you should come up and bring your swim baits and float and fly to the potholes. I mean, your swim bait rods are the right size rod.
Mhm.
The spinning rod at the potholes is a good way to say a lot of bad words quickly.
I've heard stories about that lake. I haven't fished it, but You definitely need a
Yes.
GPS on the lake. That's kind of what I've heard.
I don't know if it
Yeah, you
helps.
get lost quick.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool lake. Super awesome.
So I've got one last question for you. So do you have any aspirations to jump in the Super 60? I mean, your points are really good so far. Do you are you shooting for something like that, or are you just out fishing opens?
You know, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where, if I had the extra money to do it, it wouldn't be a problem. But it's kind of I don't know. It's just, I don't like the travel deal, going far and whatnot. That's kind of I like to fish local lakes and have fun doing it.
It is the hard part to get over. Like, I think it's the hardest part to being good at the sport is dealing with like this last trip. I was gone for 2 weeks. That was hard.
Yeah, I think that's the toughest part of the sport is traveling, taking the time off and doing that. And
Well, I don't think you're going to have a problem qualifying based
No.
on the rest of the schedule and how good you're doing.
No.
So hopefully you have an opportunity to have to make that decision. We'd love to see you on the Super 60 because I know you would. I know you would excel in any format because of the angler that you are.
Yeah, I'd prefer you sat it out. So I mean, said in the nicest way, Alex. I mean,
Please don't take more of my money, is what he was saying.
yeah.
Mhm.
that's kind of another thing is, I'm not sure what you guys, is it every fish counts kind of deal?
It's a little of both.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, you can get in either way. And I'll tell you that when I started, because I've only ever done 5 fish, I hated that idea of every fish counts.
Yeah.
But I think of 2 of the top 10s that I made 3 of them last year. 2 of them were fish count.
Okay.
You're just creaming them. And sometimes if you're creaming them fish count, you get in with weight anyway. It kind of clicks down and it's kind of, the algorithm's a little bit different. But one of them, 100% for sure, my Almanor finish was all fish count. I would have never had the weight to get in, but I was catching them really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably on a Chris Gosler mag, the 2.8 Kaito.
Oh, dude. The worst person on the planet with a 2.8 Kitech is me. Like, everyone's like, all you got to do is throw this out and they'll catch it. But for some reason, I don't catch anything. Most of the time when I throw a 2.8 Kitech, the tail gets wrapped over the freaking little hook.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, please tell me other people deal with that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's probably because the fish did it. You didn't know.
That too.
Got him.
Nailed it. Nailed
Well,
it.
it's not like the plastic is too big, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the hook would come through. But what is the worst thing in the world is to slow work a 2.8 Kitech at about 35 feet, get it up to the boat and realize the tail was not the whole time.
The last 5 minutes of your life are gone.
Yeah, you'll never get it back. Oh man.
Oh man, dude, you want to talk about breaking rods over your knee? That'll
Mhm.
piss a guy off quick.
That's amazing.
Right on.
Well,
Well, Alex, thanks for joining us, man. And congrats on a killer week. And I hope one bass, man. I'm gonna be watching for you, man. I hope you repeat, bud.
I don't have too many aspirations, but we'll see, man. I don't, you just go out there and do the best you can. I don't think different, things change. These fish, I've fished so long to realize it's when you're on them, you're on them. If you're not, do the best you can.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
good luck
but
in
it's-
that one, bass man. We we
Yeah.
appreciate
Kick their
you coming
butts.
on here. We want to see you drop another bag on them. That would be cool.
Thank you. We'll see you guys up there. You guys are coming.
So you don't got to worry
Right on.
about us.
Yep. Got my ass handed to me
You-
once at Shasta.
Yeah, you
That's
sent us
good.
home packing.
Yeah, I'm good.
That was a monumental beating. I'll just stay at home. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Yep.
Good luck, buddy, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Talk to you soon, bud.
That dude's smart.
Yes, he is.
That was
Like,
a great stuff.
Don't confuse quiet for genius. Like that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to hear something as groundbreaking as if you see that bobber tip over, your leader's too long.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to hear that when they've been fishing a bobber. You know what I mean? Like, it just shows you how much you don't know about that particular technique, right?
Oh, 100%. Like the watch your line, feel for a bite on the way down. I wasn't kidding you. Like when you've seen me throw a fly, when I throw a fly out there, I start looking for the bald eagle in the trees, and then oh yeah, turkey's probably done. Let's go see my bobber. It should be tipped up by now. I can't even
Turkey's
imagine
probably
how many
done.
I've just completely had no idea bit.
Dude, nothing pisses me off more than realizing how much I don't know. Like, I get that I don't know stuff, but when the gap is so big, when he's this kind of stuff he said, you know what I mean? I get it with the swim bait. I just don't think you're a great swim bait fisherman unless you like put in the time. Like you are just, that's
You
what you
have to.
do.
Yeah.
Dude, 23 years he spent throwing Magnum swim baits.
On
Like-
really
like-
good swim bait lakes
Yeah, on swim bait lakes. And
where you
and
can learn a lot. Yeah.
that's just think about what's the book they talk about the 10,000 hours to get to mastery. I don't know what the book is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
but-
it was about Tiger Woods. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
true, but
well,
but
still, there's a perfect
Yeah.
example of a guy who's put his time in, right? Like, that's unbelievable.
But I'll say this, like, I didn't know the guy before this podcast. I think he's super smart, but just quiet. Like, he didn't need 10,000 hours for anything. The way he talked about a float and fly and just a swim bait, I bet if you asked him about the Nico rig, you'd be pissed off about what he said, because you'd be like, for crying out loud, I didn't know that either. You know what I mean?
I'll
Yeah.
just
You know
threw
what
it
I'm
down
saying?
there and
Like-
shook it.
You said something once, Bryant, though, that it was your Havasu trick where you'd bomb the cast out there and shake the slack until you got to the bait. You never move the bait from its actual landing location. You just trolling motored the boat up there slowly as you shook
yeah.
the slack and pick it up and throw it again. Most people would never think to do that.
Follow it down. Yeah, that's
Jake's
what I
gonna
do in the
blow up.
spawn.
Jake's gonna blow up all your secrets on this podcast.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's doing a
He
good.
really is.
Hey, do we want to do
You
a
said
recap
that-
of Shasta? I
No.
think that'd be fun.
And no, you're the only half check casher.
Yeah.
Half check's better than no check.
Oh yeah. How does
So
it
actually,
feel?
no, that's we should talk about that. So first of all, you are the reason they made a rule, right?
I am. Yeah, that is the second Western Pro-Am rule that has changed because of me.
What
Congratulations.
was the first?
The Angler of the Year.
Whatever.
But anyway,
You were given. Okay, go ahead.
So do we look at this new rule? I'm trying to pull
I
it
think
up.
it's good, bro.
I think it was
think it's
well
pretty
done.
good.
I
and dry.
think the best part of the rule is how we got there.
It's a pretty good story.
It's a great story, which seems to be a common denominator with us.
Are you going to
But
tell
I
the
got
the
story?
good
guy
one.
that,
Yes.
yeah, the guy you had to split your last place check with, which didn't we just do a podcast about last place checks
Yeah,
not being equal to double
Screw
your entry
those.
fee?
Screw those. And you know what I did this
Well-
morning when it came in? I put that thing straight into my bank account.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. With two middle
Take your last
fingers.
place check and give it to the guy. You didn't deserve it anyway. You got
100%.
half of a last place check.
And I cashed it with a smile on my face.
You didn't even get a whole last place check. You only got a half.
Oh, the best part about the whole thing, though, is who you had to split the check with. You want to tell that
No,
part of the
go
story,
for
Brian?
it. Keep going. You're doing good.
I mean, you instigated it, Jake, so you should probably
I
tell the
know.
story.
Well, I mean, I got to take care of my Northwest homies, and Andy Summer got down there. He missed a whole day of practice to pick the boat up, right? Anyways, long story short, he's motor blew. He needed some help. Who's the guy with more bass boats in the West Coast besides a boat dealer than Bryant?
Another good
What do you own?
plug that my
still own
Ranger,
4 now?
I think we might be down to 2 after today.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But that Ranger is still for sale. Hit me up, BryantSmithFishing@gmail.com. 2023 Rangers D520R loaded, Mercury, warranty. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I raced that boat also with my Phoenix, and
Dude,
that Ranger
we're good.
runs. That was one of the good ones that
That
ran.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so Bryant loaned his 23 team boat to Andy Summer, who went out and caught the exact same amount of weight as Bryant did out of Bryant's boat, and he had to split the check with him. Like, you can't make this stuff up, bro.
I think
No,
the
you
funniest,
can't.
I think the craziest part is on Shasta, we tied with 24 even. Like with hundredths
Wow.
of an ounce, it was 24 even on the dot.
On the nose.
Yeah, both out of my
Wow.
boat.
I think you should have charged him a half check rental fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm happy that he got it back after the week he had. So, because I've been there where just nothing's going right. When it works out like that, it feels good afterward. I'm
Yeah,
glad I can help him
absolutely.
out.
That was pretty nice of you.
If I can
don't
help
think
him
you would
there.
have loaned me a boat.
No. I would have told you to walk the
Especially not
bank.
one that had your waypoints on it.
I would have
bank.
told you to walk the bank.
Yeah. Have fun on that trolling motor, buddy.
I know. If it had his waypoints on it too, I'd just be
My
running them for fun. I'd run the waypoints until I found where he was at. And
I
then try to
asked him
start
that the
jumping his
first day.
waypoints.
I saw him the first day of the tournament. I was like, "Hey, are my waypoints on there by chance?" He's like, "No, you cleared them." I'm like, okay,
He's like, no, they're
worthless.
on there.
They're
and that-
worthless.
Yeah, he tied you with your own waypoints.
Yeah, that would be the best. I was fishing this point. It said big one on it. So
Big
Oh, that's classic.
My favorite waypoints that I don't know what mental issue I have when I type it in is, but when I type in juice, there's no value, right? Like it has value the following day, but 3 years later, juice means nothing. Like you're
Zero.
juice, you go rolling into juice. There's no,
Yeah, like
there's
where's the
nothing
juice?
about it. It's like that was juice. Like when? Yeah. Don't use the juice.
I got a waypoint. I got a waypoint. I don't know why I did it, but me and my buddy were fishing the Delta, and it was like November. It was pretty cold out, and 2 dudes on a jet ski come running by us sitting on the stick. So I put a waypoint that literally said 2 dudes on a jet ski for no reason.
You can't even type that in.
Yeah, you can.
Is that
Lawrence,
too
you
many
can-
letters?
No, Lawrence. I mean, I didn't spell out 2. Here's the
Dudes
number
on a
2.
jet ski.
ski.
I never said I was smart, but I laugh every
Oh,
time I
gosh.
see it.
Yeah, you do. Oh, that's
Two dudes
classic.
on a jet ski. All right. So before we end this podcast, let's give everybody's tournament breakdown because hopefully somebody will learn something from that. I will, let me preface this. I feel like by having Alex on, that we've muddied the water to anybody going to Shasta for Wombass. I feel bad for them because you
They're gonna
didn't,
feel
you
obligated
then
to throw a
realize.
swim bait.
So let me take a step back. Let me say this to all you guys that might listen to this podcast and see that Alex is a next level genius when it comes to the swim bait and all that kind of stuff, and you were looking for information that might help you in this tournament. Stick to what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Well, whatever you're good at, that would be my advice after my tournament. Stick to what you're good at, because in 3 to 5 or 6 or 8 days, you're not going to catch up with that guy in swim bait fishing. Do you disagree, Brett? Well, to the best of your ability, use your elite level, success level, and then with an interpreter, somebody could interpret your banter. Tell people what I just said, but in an intelligent way about fishing your strengths. Go ahead.
Run what you brung.
He set you up for such a profound moment.
Oh my God.
What you
Dance with the
brung.
one that you brought. Yeah.
You just jumped off the cliff.
Wow. It's true though, right? Like,
It is.
don't go
It
try to
is.
beat them.
It
is.
If you're not really good at the float and fly, don't go down there thinking you can float and fly against those guys,
Mm-mm.
right?
No.
You can get some bites on it, just like on a swim bait. You can get some bites on it. But I think the big thing with those guys, who are very, very proficient with it, and it's why I asked it, is do you put it down? When do you put it down? Like, they know when to pick it up and when to put it down. And they have supreme confidence in those baits, where if a guy like me picks it up, you've been on the boat with me when I pick it up, I make 3 casts, it's worthless 3 casts, I wasted my time and I move on. I don't have that confidence. Even if you could tell me that the swim bait bite is wide open on Shasta, and I would still be throwing a Nico rig and a shaky head in the tournament, because that's what I know what to do. It's not my gig. It's not my game. And I'm not going to try to become a swim bait fisherman against a guy who's been doing it for 20 years in 3 days of practice.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Am I going to pick it up and try it if I feel like the conditions are right? Yeah, I'll huck it around a little bit. Am I going to get bit? No.
Sounds
I'm
fun,
not
though.
I'm going to be swim bait Johnny, and I'm just going to, mess with everybody else's swim bait bite who knows what they're doing.
Just go
So-
around and present it to as many fish as possible, and hopefully,
Yeah.
Then
Hopefully I
remember,
can
for
end up
10
catching
months.
them on.
Let's say the 9-month rule will kick in for you.
Yeah, play a little defense. That's all I would be doing, throwing a swim bait. There would be zero offense in that game plan. But yeah, run what you brung.
I will say, if you're on the road or listening to this podcast on your way to a Shasta tournament, listen to the BAM podcast that Big Ed did, because he had Alex on there, and then he also had second
Randy
place
Pearson.
Randy Pearson.
Yeah.
And Randy Pearson did not do any of that stuff. He kept it super simple. It's a great podcast. It was a really good one. Lots of good information. Good job, Ed. But I would say that there was a meat and potatoes perspective versus a very skilled swim bait perspective, and you could see both sides. Like Randy, that was a
both
great
worked.
interview with Randy. Yeah, and Randy got
They both
second.
worked
He
well.
almost won the dang thing.
And 2
Mhm.
mother load guys.
2 other
Yeah.
look guys, right?
Yeah.
So, so here's my recap real quick. I was in, I think, 40th or something like that after day 1 with 11 pounds. And on day 2, I had a lot of confidence that I could go back and generate bites, which generally is a good thing. But I always analyze the mistakes I make. Brad doesn't like it when I do that because he doesn't like the negativity. But a couple of the mistakes I made in day 2 was I was too afraid to go look for new water. So I ended up fishing places that I got bites in practice, but they weren't big bites. So, and I think it's just because the bite was so tough that I kind of fell back into looking for areas where I was getting bites. But I just never did really well with a bite in an area where I never got big ones. And you'll hear that in the interview, the BAM interview with Randy Pearson. If you're not catching 2-pounders, don't fish that area. You'd be better off spending your time looking for an area with 2-pounders, because you'll have a better result. Even if you don't find them, you'll find more areas with small fish. And so
Yeah,
that would be
you'll catch the same fish. Yeah, it totally makes sense.
You'd be better off looking for new water, right? Other than going back through areas where you never caught one over 2. Is that a Shasta thing, you think, Bryant?
I think so. For sure. There's a reason why those bigger fish are doing something that day where they're at that day. And if I'll say this, I've never caught a small one where I've caught a big one. Or I've never caught a big one where I've caught a small one. If I'm catching small ones, that's what I'm catching that day on that spot. It's not like it's going to magically have 3-pounders on it all of a sudden. I fish it a little differently than I think some people do. I don't mind not getting bit there. I feel like if you're not getting bit at Shasta, you're around a better quality of fish. Because, I mean, if you're fishing around big ones, they're going to be harder to catch. So I tend to go, if I'm catching a bunch in one arm, I'll just completely write off that arm and go to a different arm and almost try to minimize my bites because I feel like I'm around bigger fish.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you kind of pulled a rabbit out of the hat there because you didn't have a great practice, but you still cashed a check.
Yeah. I had some decent ones going in practice, but it wasn't, I knew the conditions were going to change, and the way I was catching them on a jerk bait in the wind. That's how I was generating all my bigger bites. And I knew when it slicked off that I would struggle to catch them on that. So I had to go find a backup plan, which was a shaky head. Strike King Fat Baby Finesse, on a 1/4 ounce nail. But I knew that I would have to make an adjustment for that calmer weather. So I ran all that stuff that I found groups of fish in practice where there was bigger ones, and I could see them down there on active target and all that stuff, and they were getting really frustrating. I couldn't get them to bite. I couldn't get them to chase. So the first day, it took me till probably 1:30 before I just really changed gears and kind of abandoned ship on what I was doing, running points and stuff where I'd found fish. And then I just totally switched up everything, started fishing. I ran like 15 miles away and just started fishing new water. And I ended up finding a little pattern where I could go, I caught a 2-pound or 2.5, 2 1/4, whatever I ended up weighing that day. I ended up pulling almost everything out that I caught in the morning doing that. And then the wind day blew, so we didn't get to fish on day 2. And I tried to actually run that same pattern on the final day of the tournament. And I did just like probably what you wished you did, Jake, was just run new water. I knew I wasn't on anything, so I just started running new water. I got really fortunate. First thing in the morning, I caught a 3.5. So that was a big fish for me. And kind of get the ball rolling. And then just, I have enough experience on that lake to where I felt like I was fishing for a 5-pounder for the rest of the day. And I just never got that fish to bite. And I caught a couple, 2-pounders, 2 1/4s, but I just never got that fish to bite. And I think a big reason was because of that north wind. When you get a north wind at Shasta, especially a big north wind, it definitely makes some fish bite, but for the overall, like I think all you guys can attest to how tough it got that third day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you get a north wind there, it definitely knocks those fish back, and you have to fish a little deeper. But yeah, I didn't pay attention to the conditions. I caught that big one up shallow, and I tried to run that for the rest of the day, and it's not. I still think I truly believe I was fishing for a 5-pounder all day. I just never got the bite.
I'll tell you this story. So I didn't find much in practice. I had one good day, but I really didn't find much. I only got the 2 days of practice because I did the ISC show. But the group of fish that I caught my first day better bag off of, I started on day 2. and they were really hard to get to bite with a jerk bait. I could get one out of maybe like, what did you say, 50? Was that the same thing you had, Bryant? Like, it was really hard to get them on the jerk bait. But the ones I got were worth it. And so I pulled up to the spot that I had the biggest school that I could catch. And I went through it with the jerk bait and I pulled them up off the bottom. But I just couldn't get one to commit. And so I did everything I could. I threw, a minnow out the back. I did everything. You see this big school of fish come up and you're like, oh my God, these are the ones. And I just kind of gave up on them and I started going down the bank trying to catch another one. Excuse me, my co-angler, super cool guy, Jeff Matlock. I met him at the ISC show. Probably one of the coolest co-anglers I've ever had. Just threw back behind. He made a smart decision and grabbed a crankbait and just bombed it out behind the boat. And he caught like almost a 4-pound spot. Like,
That was a big one.
Oh,
Pull out of the live well.
yeah. When I weighed it, he was like, oh man, I got one. He put it in there and I'm like, dude, that's the biggest fish that's in my boat in Lake Shasta. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing. And he's super cool. Like, he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, you didn't do anything wrong. I pulled the school up and I couldn't get him to bite, but because they got active and I pulled him up off the bottom, he made the right decision and caught that fish. It was really cool. But I remember thinking, like, I really only had 1 or 2 schools of fish that size. And if I don't get them to go, I'm really in this 2-pounder war. And I had 2 2-pounders on the final day, but I just had a lot of really small ones. And so, long story short, Bryant's right. If you get caught up in doing the same thing over and over again and going in the same circles and aren't willing to fish new water, I think your end result is always going to be more negative than positive. If you go look for new water and fail, I think that's a better result than not looking for new water and failing. You know what I mean? Because I actually feel like, yeah, exactly. I actually feel like looking for new water and failing is a lower percentage of failure than staying where you're at and trying to make big fish appear where they're not. Does that make sense?
100%.
It's hard to do because you're forced to fish uncomfortable looking for new water.
In the tournament.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very uncomfortable feeling that nobody likes. And I tend to fall back in that.
But I think some of your best tournaments, especially when we were in the MPFL, some of your best tournaments are when you just, hey, I'm going to go try and find new water in the tournament. I don't care. This ain't working. And that's what I deal with a lot on the elites is, going back east, you're fishing these massive bodies of water, and Jake, you can attest to it. There's no way you can fish them all in one day. There's no way you can break down. Like, it's like fishing 15 Shastas put together. And Shasta's a big
100
lake.
Shasta.
Yeah, or 100. Yeah. So
100.
Running a pattern is always going to be a better long-term deal for you in a tournament, but it requires you to put yourself in a very uncomfortable position, not going to the same stuff that you have day 1, day 2, day 3. But if you noted, I don't remember who I had this conversation with. I think it was with Ken. We were talking about what the cut weight was going to be for Shasta after on our off day. And he said, yeah, you just subtract a pound. And that's usually what the cut weight is. And out here, it's true. Our lakes are so small and you're not fishing against the best in the world. But when you go and fish at the elite level, that was the biggest eye opener that I can remember from fishing the elite level is the cut weight never goes down. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that those guys are not scared to jump ship and abandon their whole deal and go and try and find something better because it's not working. And if you guys that's a pretty big deal. If you can get comfortable with that, your tournament success will skyrocket.
It's almost like you're saying that their first day of the tournament is their first day of practice.
Yeah, a lot of times I think
their first day of weights is just teaching them how to beat your ass the next day, right?
It is. They find these, I feel like, and when I have a good tournament out there, I find I find a general area where I want to be, and then I'll have 2 or 3 patterns going, ideally, that I really haven't leaned on. I haven't fished them. So I'm still open-minded going into it the first day. Whereas I think a lot of guys you guys want to have a starting spot, and they want to have their day planned out. Like, I need to fish this point at 7 a.m., this point at 8 a.m., this spot at 9 a.m., this spot at 10 a.m. And I don't think that leads you down a road where if it doesn't start working immediately, you start losing confidence very quickly. Where if you have a pattern going and you're like, yeah, I'm going to start in this area, maybe you have a starting spot. That's fine. But I'm going to let the day kind of unfold in front of me and see what happens. I think that's when you start elevating your bass fishing game to something that's pretty special.
No, I mean, translate that to the Pro Tour. You kind of don't have a choice but to do that, right?
And I think that's why those guys, like, I think that's why you see those weights always climbing in those Pro Tour events, is because you're figuring it out as the tournament unfolds.
Right.
Whereas in a normal tournament with practice, you figure them out in practice, and then you stay on them, and you try to stay on them in the tournament, and it doesn't work out, and you're fishing history. The Pro Tour, that's the part I'm really excited for, is I get to go out there with an open mind, and I just go fishing and say, hey, this spot looks good. This spot looks good. I want to stay in this area. I'm gonna see. Like, that's how I always start my practices too. I'll get in an area and I just go fish. And I just go see what the fish are going to tell me. And then, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it keeps you open-minded that way.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, there's a thought process that I've kind of come into as the realization that I've done so much better in the Pro Tour without practice, like you were saying, Bryant. And some of my best tournament finishes have no practice in front of them, kind of like the Harris chain or whatever. It's when we launch on tournament day, a lot of guys have confidence in their plans. They got plan A, plan B, plan C, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if this is, and I'm going to disprove A, and I'm going to disprove. But what you should have confidence in at some point, when you get really good at the sport, and like you were like Bryant, is your ability to make the plan. It's the thought process that actually developed plan A, B, and C. That's where your confidence should lie. And so the quicker that you can disprove the stuff you learned in practice, the better you're going to be. Right? How long you're willing to live with plan A or live with plan B. And remember this too, because I did all the practice one time for a tournament I did with Polinick. And I did all the practice. He was out of town. He shows up. I said, hey, here's our starting spot. I zoom in there and I'm like, I'm telling you, this is the juice. Like, I found this.
Check the waypoint.
It's great.
Juice waypoint.
He was
check the waypoint.
Yeah, it was juice. That's right, dude. And Brandon was done with that spot minutes into it because it really did one thing spectacular. No fish bait. Ate your bait. Like it sucked. And I'm telling you, this is a great spot. Spectacularly, they weren't eating. And so Brandon was like, dude, I know that was great whenever it was, but it sucks now. Let's move on. You know what I mean? And that model, like having him next to you, is like, I don't really care what your confidence in this spot for last week was. I'll go find a better spot in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? That whole thought process. Yeah. Your confidence should be in your ability to find the next spot, your ability to solve the next problem, not in what you get in practice. And that's what I actually love about the Pro Tour, because as much as the human mind hates to go into the next tournament without a plan, we humans hate to not have a plan or to know what's going to happen next, right? Humans hate to be uncomfortable. If you can get confident in being uncomfortable and the fact that you can solve the problem when you get there, you're probably going to be better at any bass tournament, I would think.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Bryant's thought process is, oh, it's fine. It's going to be fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
Bryant, the world's on fire. We have no place to stay. You can't stay in my camper because the water's froze. What do you think? What should we do? And he goes, oh, it'll be fine.
Figure it out.
That's his.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Cool hand, Luke.
No, it's not. That's procrastination. It's different than cool hand. It's more about like, hey, listen, we'll worry about it later. Hopefully, somewhere in this travel process, Jake will figure it out for me.
Yeah. If I procrastinate long enough, you usually do.
Yep.
Because I'm wired that way. Anyway, sorry, that was a long rant from me, but
That's good stuff.
It was good stuff. This was a good one.
the good news is too, I know we're kind of winding this one down, but I might have a lead on one of the coolest psychologists that ever was willing to be a bass fisherman in some of our future shows. I hope we can get him on.
We've got some cool people coming up. We really do. We really do. And we don't have a lot of time. Brian, when are you leaving? When are you going east?
9 days.
Yeah.
So
we
the plan is
gotta get you set up.
the professionalism of this podcast will depend on which campground you're in.
Underpass. Campground.
It'll be fine.
Front deck of the boat. We're going to Florida.
It'll be fine.
We're going to Florida, so I should be able to sleep on the front deck of my boat.
Excellent.
That'll be fine. We got mosquitoes. Hey, before we forget, Beau, we didn't get your tournament recap. Come on, Beau.
End it off with that.
Jeez, let's end on a low note. I'll crack the code on that lake one of these days. It's a tricky one for me.
You know what, though? It's okay if you never figure it out. Like, I honestly feel like if you want to be good at traveling at the sport, you got to have your, like, layups, right? The ones you just, I get my points and I move on, right? Like, you've
Sure.
got to have your, like, you know, that one didn't fit the model. You know what I mean? I
Nah.
think that. You never quit trying, right? You never
No.
quit striving.
Somebody can beat you
I
every
don't
time.
want to.
Till you're winning everything.
I
It's
don't
not
want to
good
tell the story about how I showed you the Columbia River. I'm not
enough.
going
Say
to
that for another one.
You're coming
save
up
it
here
for
this year, right, Bryant?
I'm going to try
He
to.
isn't going to come up with us.
Hope so. That's a fun one.
I already have all his waypoints on Potwell. I need to go steal his Boardman waypoints, but I think
The
we can
girls
do
want you to come up, and you can't even make it.
that. I can make it.
You can do Boardman or Paul's.
I can do them both. It's a pro-am.
Dude,
I
that'd be
can't do the
awesome.
Boardman Super 60.
Ooh, that's a bummer. That's a good time of year.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next? Brian is leaving for Florida. Is that the first stop?
St. John's.
Yep. Boomer,
you have to listen to Eastbound and Down at least till you get out of California on repeat. No, as loud as you can too. And if you don't want to hear it, I'll have Lily call you and sing it to you.
Just make sure
She
you
can
get
sing
across
that
the
thing
border.
front to back,
Wonderful.
Oh my
loaded
God.
up and trucking.
Boomer, are you
All
going
right.
to the Pro-Am at Pedro?
100%.
You are. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more scared now when I realize that almost everybody in the pro tour field is either a resident of the area or fishes it all the time. I didn't know Pedro was so popular.
It's a big group of guys that are from there for their fishing the Pro Tour. You got Pearson, Hayden, Lee, Jake Arbuckle's from there. I don't know. There's a lot of guys that are from there.
Well, I got kids to beat,
Yeah.
and super grateful for you guys. This was actually, dude, did you guys think that Alex was that dude's a genius.
100%.
Yeah.
Super smart.
Like sneaky, ninja-like.
He's on another level. You could just...
He doesn't accidentally win all these tournaments.
No.
I'll tell you that right now.
No.
Yeah.
There
Yep.
is a
Super cool interview.
methodology he's followed for 2 decades that's just mind blowing. Yeah.
All right. I'm out.
All right,
Thank
boys.
you, gentlemen.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you guys next time.